a whole bunch of fentanyl overdoses. And as some people have pointed out, we've had listeners point out, well, overdose isn't exactly the right term because these kids didn't even set out to take fentanyl in the first place. They weren't trying to take a dose of it to begin with. But one way or the other, fentanyl poisoning, maybe you call it that. These kids being hit by it and parents just not being notified with any speed. And that's led to a whole bunch of questions in Loudoun County. The reporter who's really aggressively covered all of this is a guy by the name of Nick Minock. He reports for 7 News, DC, WJLA, and he joins us on the phone right now. Nick, good to talk to you, sir. Thank you.
Likewise. Hey, Vince, how are you doing?
I'm doing excellent, and always appreciative of your reporting. I follow religiously. Tell me, give me an update on, how many students, to your knowledge, were affected so far by this fentanyl in Loudoun County?
Well, just at one school, Parkview High School in Sterling, we first reported 9 students overdosed. And some occurred in late September. We heard the notification come out from the sheriff. I believe it was October 31st. So some time went by without the public and school board members knowing about it. So 7 News is continuing to press school board members for answers if they're satisfied with that. You might remember Spence was hired after Scott Ziegler was fired. A lot of it had to do with school safety issues, transparency issues, and a lot of people feel like there's still transparency issues with this new superintendent.
Definitely. And so what I find so bizarre is when you try and ask him questions, he either argues with you or clams up. I was just playing audio. Let me play a little bit of it again so people get a taste of it. I won't play the full thing, but this is you trying to ask Dr. Aaron Spence, Loudoun County Superintendent, some basic questions about the timing of this announcement for the fentanyl problem in this high school.
Yeah, it's nice talking with you. Superintendent Spence, why did it take you so long to notify the public about fentanyl overdoses? Sir, why did it take you so long?
Nick, we're not going to do this tonight. We're not going to have this conversation the way we're having this conversation. We've had a conversation.
When are we going to have the conversation?
Put the camera away. You and I go sit down and have coffee, and we'll talk about your approach to journalism, Nick.
Okay, so he never answers any of this. In fact, he says, we could go have a coffee, and then he's going to lecture you about journalism. Did that happen?
Well, we haven't had coffee yet, Vince. But, hey, we were asking for an interview with Mr. Spence for 10 days. He did not grant an interview to 7 News. And so we showed up at a listening session at Woodgrove High School in Purcellville to ask him very simple questions. Why did it take him so long to notify the public about these life-threatening, serious student overdoses? And that clip that you just played is about 3 minutes long. Mr. Spence walked away from us. He walked down the hallway of the high school into the principal's office to avoid our questions. So we still haven't heard a lot of those answers quite yet.
That's crazy.
But 2 days after we heard about these student fentanyl overdoses, we asked for an interview with Mr. Spence, and Natalie Allen, the new communications person at Loudoun County Public Schools, told us he was unavailable. But that evening, we saw Mr. Spence do an interview with CBS Evening News, but he blew off all the local TV news stations and the papers. So he's willing to go on national news to talk about it, but not take, some might say, hard questions from local press. I think these are pretty simple questions.
Well, the point is these are knowledgeable questions. You actually know the details, and that's what he wanted to avoid, apparently. So he goes on CBS. They don't ask him anything that relate like you would ask, and sure enough, they don't in any way meaningfully cover the shortcomings here. So let me ask you about this communications director, Natalie Allen. I saw this caught my attention yesterday. That you tweeted out that she's the new chief communications officer. And do I understand this correctly? That job pays over $250,000 to handle communications for the Loudoun County School Board?
Yeah, it's an eye-popping number, $250,000 plus perks. She'll get each month $750 for a car, $150 per month for a data allowance, and $15,000 to move from Virginia Beach to Loudoun County, about 3 hours away. It's just a very large number, and it appears this position was created for her. Natalie Allen worked in Virginia Beach City Public Schools with Spence. That's the school system Spence worked at before coming to Loudoun County. So we're asking the school board tonight, actually, at 5 and 6 and 4 o'clock on 7 News. Was this job publicly advertised for all to apply? It appears that's not the case. You take a look at the communications office in Loudoun County Public Schools. They have 14 people in that comms office. Taxpayers are footing the bill for $1.8 million in salaries each year for those 14 people. And there's people on that staff who've been in the school system for over 20 years, and they don't make anything near what Natalie Allen makes. And she has about 12 years of experience in communications. I heard from a Virginia Beach City school board member that she worked for the Baltimore superintendent, the one who was put in jail. She worked in Kansas City. She worked in Virginia Beach. She has 12 years of experience. Now she's here in Loudoun County making more money than what the Arlington County superintendent started off as.
Well, she makes more money.
And more money than the governor, by the way, of Virginia.
Yeah,
more money than most federal government attorneys.
Yeah, more money than any member of Congress or the White House press secretary. That's exactly right. She's making a ton of cash. So if you're making that much money, she must be very communicative. Does she tell you everything all the time? Is she constantly being transparent with you?
No. Last week, I did appreciate her emailing me some responses to questions. We're going to be working on a story about how the Holocaust is being taught in schools. So she did probably in the next couple of weeks on WJLA. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, she doesn't grant interviews with Channel 7 or really anybody else for that matter. So it's unclear what taxpayers are getting in return for her services.
You're right about that. You mentioned early in the interview, our interview, that Scott Ziegler, of course, left because of his deception and failure to reveal the extent to which, for instance, there were sexual assaults going on in the schools in Loudoun County. And you would think with the new superintendent, Aaron Spence, that the whole point of replacing Scott Ziegler was to make it so that things were more transparent, that it was clearer to the community and to parents what was going on inside of these schools. Do you get the impression that any of this has improved?
Well, to be honest, no. And the thing is, with Dr. Aaron Spence coming in, he has the benefit of a couple of surveys that were done during his recruiting process. Taxpayers foot the bill to hire a superintendent search firm earlier this year. The search firm did 2 surveys, and they asked the stakeholders, the politicians like Chair Phyllis Randall and others, what do they want in a new superintendent? Most of them said, we want the school system to stop getting bad press. Then there was another survey done with teachers and parents, and their number one issues were we want to see improved safety in the schools, a focus on academic achievement, improving communication, improving transparency. A lot of people feel communication and transparency has not improved at all over the past few months with Spence's new hire.
Yeah, that's an issue. That's a big one, and yet the
but
taxpayers.
He might disagree with me, Ben.
Yeah, I imagine he would, but still, like in the audio that we played a moment ago, the audio that goes on for 3 minutes, where you ask him questions, he refuses to answer. If he was a normal government official with nothing to hide and to be proud of his record, that's easy. Those are easy things to answer. Like, yeah, no. Either you're right, it took us too long to tell people, or the second we found out, we told everyone. But instead, we get all of this stuff about how he needs to lecture you about how to become a better reporter, which is preposterous. Again, you're the journalist, and he's the government official, and the proper role is for him to answer your questions. Let me switch to a different topic, though, with you real quick, Nick, before we let you go. And again, Nick Minock from WJLA is here with us. I saw you said this morning on Twitter that Steve Descano, the current Fairfax County Commonwealth's attorney, the George Soros-funded guy, has bigger ambitions. What is he doing right now?
So I've been hearing from sources that Fairfax County Commonwealth's attorney, Steve Descano, is laying the groundwork to run for Virginia Attorney General. This would be in 2025. Right now, the current Attorney General is Jason Miyares. Unclear what Mr. Miyares has planned, if he'll run for re-election or do something else, but it appears Mr. Descano wants to run for this job. We've been reporting on Mr. Descano's record as the Fairfax County CA for some time. This year, for instance, we uncovered that he was using Signal His staff told me that he was using Signal to thwart FOIA laws. So we did a series of stories on that. We've done a series of stories with victims of crime, violent crimes, child sex crimes, reckless driving crimes, and a lot of victims don't feel heard by Mr. Descano, and he's been criticized for being soft on crime. We also uncovered this year that he's never personally prosecuted a case as the Fairfax County Commonwealth's attorney. I FOIA'd his calendar appointments for the past year and found he wasn't showing up to court, and we questioned him on that. So you can find that interview if you want to listen to it on WJLA.com. It's from earlier this year, but it looks like he does have his eyes on a higher office, Virginia Attorney General. What do you think about that, Vince?
That's a terrible idea, obviously, for the people of Virginia. Fairfax has suffered enough. I don't think the rest of the Commonwealth needs to suffer. But the reason we know a lot of this is, again, thanks to your reporting. And the way you said sources told you, but you also indicated in your tweet this morning that he's actually trying to get endorsements right now. He's on the hunt for people to endorse him.
That's right. And apparently he had a conversation with someone last night. One of my sources overheard that conversation. He's courting support within Fairfax County. Some people may not support him, even though they're Democrats, because they have their eyes on another contender who may jump in the race, which is former Delegate Jay Jones.
Got it. All right. Well, this is all the latest breaking information. As always, you get that from Nick Minock over at WJLA. Thank you, sir. Really good to talk to you, and we look forward to having you back soon, sir. Thank you.